What's your favorite scary movie?
Be like, I'm dying.
If some guy came up to me and said, "Hey, big eyes," I'm like, "It's over and done. We're married now."
Someone in the movie, so I'm like, kiss. But
Oh God, what a sea of humanity.
Hey. Hello and welcome to 52/1994, the live movie conversation podcast where we discuss movies from the year 1994. I am your host, Cody, and I'm joined by my co-host this week. We haven't had her on in a while, but here she is, Tori. Welcome back, Tori. And who is this?
Jinx.
Jinx. Not Juniper. This one's Jinx.
This is Jinx. Juniper's too shy. He's a nuisance.
Okay, that's for the best. We don't need any of that here. We've already got some words in the chat for you. God, she's so pretty. So
oh,
there you
stop!
go.
I'll pay you later.
We've got fans of Tori in the chat. We'll bring her back more often then. If this is your first time joining us, welcome in. We are happy for you to join us today. Just to give you a little heads up of what we're doing, we're going to be watching movies from the year 1994. Why? Because it's been 30 years and most of us are around in our 30s, and we might have watched some of these movies, but we're talking about movies that are released this year. We typically do them in like monthly categories. So the last three we had were all Jim Carrey focused. And this one that we're doing this week is kind of an outlier. But next month, obviously, this one kind of falls into the next month's theme a little bit. It's February. It's Valentine's Day. We're doing romantic movies. This one's not the most romantic, but it's got a lot of sex in it, so to say. A lot of sex. And so basically we just have a guest to talk about these movies with, and then I talk about their interests and what's going on in their life, maybe mostly around like movies and things like that, but we'll see what else is going on with them. But Tori, welcome back. It has been a while. How are things with you?
Crazy busy, but we try and soldier on.
That's right. That's all we can do. We work every day and then we drink and then everything's good.
Hey, cheers to that. By the way, if you run out of lime juice, Mio works a little bit too well in a gin and tonic.
Oh, okay.
It's juice. I swear to God.
It's just juice.
Just juice.
Well, I asked Tori to do this movie specifically. We'll have her on for other movies, but I mean, we had her on for We're Back, a dinosaur story, which really didn't have an art theme to it.
Doesn't matter. I'm an expert in animated dinosaurs.
She's an expert in animated dinosaurs. But I saw an opportunity with this movie in particular because it did kind of have an art theme to it. Now, it was less about the art and more about
the boobs.
Religion and boobs and sexual repression and all this stuff. But this week we're talking about the movie Sirens from 1994. Had you ever heard or seen this movie before?
No. It was not on my radar at all. I mean, the only person I think I knew Hugh Grant in it. And then I knew the actor who played the artist, but God, I couldn't name him if you gave me $1 million. But I know his face. But Hugh Grant was so young in this, and that really surprised me because I think that I was used to seeing him in like Bridget Jones's Diary.
Mm-hmm.
So seeing him in this, I was just like, oh, he's a baby.
Yes, he is definitely. And this is our second time that we've seen Hugh Grant on this podcast. We saw him last year again as a baby in The Remains of the Day, and we're going to see him in a few weeks for Four Weddings and a Funeral. So we're going to get our share of Hugh Grant. You may have recognized the guy who's playing Norman Lindsay because he's from the movie Jurassic Park.
Thank you. Wow.
Yeah, he looks a little different with the beard and everything going on.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I saw his face and I was just like, he gives off such dad vibes in this film, kind of, in a weird way.
Daddy vibes.
Sure. Sure. But then, I mean, definitely dad vibes in Jurassic Park. So I definitely see that.
Absolutely. So I have never seen or heard of this movie
Mm-mm.
ever, but I did see an opportunity because I don't know. I felt like I read the description. I was like, oh, that'll be a good topic to discuss. I didn't know as much. I knew that there was probably going to be some nudity in this. I did not expect as much nudity as there was, but
Anytime you talk about art, there's gonna be some full frontal. Like you just kind of expect it. It does not phase me at all at this point. The only time that it kind of does is when it's a man. And there are a couple of times in here where it is a man, and I'm like, it's kind of a weird, pleasant surprise that I'm like, oh yeah, the guys are getting some action too. Excellent. Great.
yeah, this is an equal opportunity nudity film.
Yeah, we love that. But yeah, so you had said that, it's got, it's kind of about art. And the synopsis definitely focuses more on the art than I think the movie does in a way. So yeah, so like I saw why you wanted me to come in. For anybody watching, I do work at an art museum. It's what I decided to go into for the money and the fame, obviously.
Obviously, but it is topical with your career path and everything. So let's talk a little bit about the movie. We've kind of already went over our little impressions of the film and everything, but we're talking about the movie Sirens. It came out February 4th, 1994. So here in a few days, it'll be the 30th anniversary. It was directed and written by John Dugan. And the cast includes, we've already talked about one of them, but Hugh Grant as Reverend Anthony Campion, Tara Fitzgerald as Estella Campion, Sam Neill as Norman Lindsay. Oh, we lost her, but she'll be back. Elle McPherson as Sheila, Portia de Rossi as Giddy, Kate Fisher as Prue, Pamela Rabe as Rose Lindsay, and Mark Gerber as Devlin. There's a few other people in there. I do want to mention Ben Mendelsohn, who is a famous Australian actor. You've probably seen him a lot in the last several years. He sometimes plays a bad guy. He is one of the random people that goes on a date with Sheila and Prue. So I do want to give him a little shout out here. So in reading the synopsis, let me go ahead and go with that and read that to everybody here. In 1930s Australia, Anglican clergyman Anthony Campion and his prim wife are asked to visit noted painter Norman Lindsay, whose planned contribution to an international art exhibit is considered blasphemous. While Campion and Lindsay debate, Estella finds herself drawn to the three beautiful models sitting for the painter's current work: free-thinking Sheila, sensual Prue, and virginal Giddy. Welcome back.
Hi, my computer decided to restart. Sorry.
That's okay. That is okay. I just went through the cast list. I just read the synopsis. I couldn't find a budget for this movie. I don't think it was that expensive to make.
I don't think so. I mean, I feel like the most expensive thing might have been like just shooting on site if they did.
They did. So fun fact about this, I don't know if it's in my fun facts, but this movie was shot in Australia at Norman Lindsay's actual house, which now it's like a museum and a gallery and everything. So this was actually
a real artist.
Yeah. That's why
Can you tell that I did zero?
You did so much research.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a real artist.
Okay. Was this like actually kind of representative of his work in the movie?
Yeah.
I love that.
So
I love that.
But so there's some other things about Norman Lindsay that I might get to. He's not the best guy ever.
They rarely are.
You're right. But I've got something about him later. But yeah, he's a real artist and does a lot of these like mythical I guess like the Sirens, stuff like that. So, okay. Somebody in chat just gave me the budget of $5.2 million. Thank you for that. I could not find that anywhere.
Is that a big budget or a small budget?
That's a very small budget.
Okay.
And the box office for this movie was 7.7 million. So it did make a profit, but
Not much.
not a big profit here. I've got some critic reviews here. So Rotten Tomatoes has this movie at a 74%, IMDb 5.9, Letterboxd is sitting at a steady 3.
Oh,
Roger Ebert gave this movie a pretty rave review. He said the result is a good-hearted, whimsical movie which makes no apologies for the beauty of the human body and yet never feels sexually obsessed. Strange, it's not often you smile this much during an erotic film. He gave it 3.5 stars out of 4.
okay. All right. I think that's fair.
Yeah, and here's one by a lady from the Austin Chronicle. She gave it 1.5 stars out of 5. Marjorie Baumgarten. She said they are supposed to be sirens, but they come across more as a feebly softcore pretense of art. The drama is intellectually schematic rather than viscerally felt, which is a drawback in a movie about the awakening of sensuality.
Okay, I can see her points, but I also feel like she has an axe to grind.
Yeah.
Like that doesn't seem very fair.
I think I read in that specific review that the guy that wrote and directed this is kind of known for this style, like of kind of the softcore-ness of it. And
but to be fair, so is like Marie Antoinette, the Sofia Coppola film, is basically softcore porn as well. So like to be fair, like that's a genre in and of itself, and it can be still critically acclaimed.
And when you were talking about art earlier and everything, I mean, a lot of it there's a lot of art with the human body, and we see it everywhere, and we accept it, and it's just that, and that's kind of how I felt in this movie too. Was it? And I think Roger Ebert's review actually says it best. It's like the movie doesn't feel sexually obsessed. It doesn't feel very sexual. It feels sensual. It feels I feel the awakening of all these things, but I never felt like I was watching pornography at any point. Or
that's true, but at the same time, I will say that it did feel voyeuristic sometimes. But I think that was kind of calculated because in my mind, you're kind of seeing it through Estella's gaze, but it's really interesting seeing a male writer director try and write something through the female gaze, because I do think that his male gaze definitely came through at times. So I was just like, sometimes I was just like, you just wanted to see these beautiful women get at it, didn't you? Just a little bit.
Think so. And that's probably why there's more of the women in this movie than there is the male, the Odysseus that comes through.
The very hairy Odysseus.
Yes, the very hairy Odysseus.
All right, let's use a wax.
It's Australia. It's 1930. They don't have waxers available at that time.
That's fair.
If you could tell from everybody's armpits, everybody was hairy.
Okay, no. Those women were hairless. I didn't notice her armpits, but their legs.
I didn't notice their legs. I don't know. Maybe it's a 30s thing.
It was not. No.
I just saw hair one time and I was like, hey, I think she's got hair under her armpits.
Oh, okay. Well, okay, that's progressive. We like that.
Yeah.
We like that. This is the 30s. Yeah, they don't.
All right,
let's
talk about some of these scenes that really stuck out to you. We don't have to have a lot of them. It's not a very long movie. It's only about an hour and a half. But what are some of the scenes that really stuck out to you that really make this movie?
Definitely when they see them as like the fairies at night, and they're like floating. They're very ethereal and very like beautiful, but at the same time, it's like, and then you see, I love that the scene goes on and you eventually see what the actual setup is, and it's just like this ridiculous, like somebody's on a seesaw and like these two other girls are on like swings and they're being like propelled up and down. I thought that was very cute because to me, like that's the children in the movie, that's, you get to see it through their eyes first, where it's like very magical and like, oh my gosh, how is this happening? Look at these beautiful fairies. And then you see the reality that the adults are seeing. And it's like, oh, this is kind of funny.
Yeah, no, I have the fairies scene written down twice on here in
Mhm.
different sections of my my run through. I did like that, and I did want to talk about the children and the fact that there are children in this movie,
Yeah,
which is
and
interesting.
it sure is. I appreciate that they're not there for some of the very specific moments, but yeah, I think that the addition of them for like that scene and like it's very early on in the movie, so you're seeing these three models as like super ethereal and super like otherworldly. I think it's a good setup for like future scenes where it's like I'm allowed to do this because these like aren't real women. These are personifications of beauty almost.
Hmm.
I don't know. That's kind of where my mind went with it.
Yeah,
That was definitely a standout to me.
I really like the children in the movie because one, they're funny. They bring some humor to it, especially in that scene right before that. The one daughter says, "I'm bloody bored."
That's one of my
Uh,
quotes. I
yeah,
love that. Which
I'm
also, I mean, I don't know in the 90s that they would have had this context, but in the 30s, they definitely would. That is a super blasphemous thing to say
hmm.
because bloody is like by Christ's blood. So the fact that she's saying this in front of a reverend is even funnier than the fact that she's just saying it.
Okay. I never
Like,
even thought about it like that, but I thought it was interesting that these children are representing some of what like Estella gets a little bit later, and maybe some of the models even at other points where you see these two men that are just bickering or fighting over, freedom of expression and the human body and sexuality and the church and how it's all and she's just like, shut up, like it doesn't matter. It
yeah.
is boring. It is something that, why are we even talking about this? And I thought it was interesting that the children are interjected in there, and then they start telling them about the fairies and like,
Hmm.
uh, and that they have to go to bed. So I agree. I like the fairy scene.
Yeah.
I kind of hate how it, like, the etherealness, like what you were saying there, of how it was filmed. Like, yes, that's how the children perceive it, but I thought it looked
Mhm.
so cheesy. That was like one of the
It
things.
was. Now
It
it
was,
was cheesy as hell, but I had to like as I was watching it, I was like, this looks awful. I was like, what even is this? And then I like had to remind myself, I was like, there are kids watching this, and there is like the whole setup to it is if you're gonna see the fairies at midnight, then you need to sleep now. So I was like, oh, this is the kids. We're seeing this through the kids' eyes. And
yes.
that's when I kind of appreciated it more. At first I was like, what in the fuck are we
Yeah.
watching?
It is very early in the film, and it lasts about 30 seconds too long
True.
for me. Yeah.
Yes.
but but yes, I really did like the cut to like seeing Devlin or whatever with the
Mhm.
pulley and
Yeah.
everything. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Somebody in chat says the kids are also not hindered by society, religion's ideas of the human body. They see the women are beautiful or just part of the family, while the townspeople saw them as blasphemous.
Astute.
Astute. Very
That's a
smart
very good
person in
point. Yeah.
chat there.
Also
Um,
beautiful, if I can say so. She's just gorgeous, isn't she?
yes, absolutely. What other scene kind of stuck out to you?
I do think that like so the scene where they're at the bar and you do see like the reality of how the townspeople see them. That scene also, I will say, I have to say, sticks out to me because of the comic relief of that one guy who just his only job is to say "fuck you"
Yeah,
to
get
every single
fucked.
person. Get fucked. Hilarious. I love that guy, but seeing them in the bar and then like seeing them playing with the kids and the fact that again like chat says like the kids start to play with the models the same way that they were playing with each other until their parents kind of interject and they're
Mhm.
like, hey, stop it, and they start calling out all these Irish names. um so yeah, it was like these models and this family could be a part of this town. It's just that the town is like so actively rejecting them, and it's only because of the other adults and all
Yes.
their preconceived notions.
And how often do we see that now? Is this in a society of parents influencing their children to say like, "Hey, this is the way it is," and
Yeah,
we don't
and so
like these
often you
people.
Yeah, and so often you do see like the adults telling them like that's bad rather than no, like give them the benefit of the doubt. Like it's always the kids offering more chances than the adults. And it's very
Yes.
sad.
And we only get we only get a snapshot of the, you know, like a week in the life of these people or anything. So
Mhm.
we don't know what any of these the models have done or will, but it doesn't seem like they are. I think they are only seen as bad people to these townspeople because they pose nude for this artist,
Mhm.
and this artist lives such like a bohemian life, excluded from everybody in the town, that they have to be witches or they have to be some evil spirit or
So I
something.
can give maybe a little bit of context actually with my art history background.
Yeah.
Typically in the Renaissance era, which is where you see so many of these, paintings of nude women, the models were sex workers. And that is because, nobody else was going to pose nude or undressed. So that stigma of, oh, they must be immoral is something that, carries centuries of weight with it. Um, and if this was set in the 1930s, I definitely think that mentality was very much still there. It's like, oh, if you're posing nude, then you're doing other things. And obviously, we're moving towards a more sex positive society, which I appreciate. And it's like sex work is becoming a little bit more accepted in certain aspects of society. But like back then, it was definitely like sex worker, we don't associate with them. And if you are modeling nude, then you're doing other things nude, period. So it's
Yeah.
like, I can see through the townspeople's eyes why they are placing all of that like extra weight onto these women.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know that this movie is obviously seen through an Australian lens, but if we think about like what's going on in America during this time, even like if we're saying like late night or early 1930s is when this takes. So we've kind of had the roaring 20s where a lot of what people were doing during that time. I mean, we had alcohol was banned during that time because of religious reasons. And, you know, those people, the whole jazz period and everything, those people are seen as bad people or
Mm-hmm.
so I could see obviously when things go that way in one part of the world, they're probably happening in another part of the world the
But it's
exact
also
same way.
it's extra interesting because all of these people in, say they're actually in 1930s Australia, they would be descendants of criminals who were sent over from England because Australia was a penal colony.
Hmm.
So it's like, who are you to judge when your ancestor probably, potentially killed somebody and that's why you're here now?
Yeah, and a lot of those townspeople are probably the um, more of the descendants of those people than the models, because I don't even know if the models are. I think some of them are probably Australian, but um, they're. I don't know if Norman. I think Norman Lindsay himself might have lived in the UK before moving to Australia because they just wanted to get away from the repression and everything of the
Mhm.
Church of England, and again, moving away from that religious persecution, not necessarily persecution, but you know, just people looking down on them, and
Yeah, oppression and
yeah,
judgment.
oppression. That's a way
Yeah.
better name than persecution. I don't want to. I don't want to get tell people that people are being persecuted because we get enough of that from people saying that these days that oh, you're persecuting me.
No, no, no. I'm just oppressing you.
I'm just oppressing you and depressing me. So what else? Kind of, I had that scene down as well,
Mhm.
and it comes off of a scene where Estella is walking around and
Yeah.
gets comes upon Devlin naked, and this is
Just
our
straight chilling naked, which I mean, I had a couple moments in this film where I was like, would I like be feel okay just being totally stark naked in public? But then I was like, no, this is the 1930s and this is in Australia. So probably I would feel a little bit more comfortable just being out in naked in nature.
I would in Ohio, not Australia. I'll tell you that.
Good point.
And they make sure to tell you about that at all
Yeah.
times in this movie. However many shark attacks there are, snakes that are the wildlife. She talks about the spiders that will
And
kill
then you have
you.
the cricket that hits her pillow at one point, and then there's a
yeah.
spider on the painting. Listen, as somebody who currently lives in what I like to call the Australia of the States, you'd have to pay me money to walk outside barefoot, okay? Like the bugs and the lizards that are out here, I refuse. Wouldn't be me. Couldn't be me.
It is insane. But that's all I could think. And you know that these people are so used to it and everything. That's why they're so comfortable just getting in the water, doing whatever they do. It's nothing to them. Which just adds to more of the when Estella sees the girls swimming and they're all nude.
Yeah.
She's like, no way am I doing this. It only adds to it.
But I guess the other scene that really stuck out to me was the kind of dual sex scene with Estella, where you see her just being, she's not participating in the sex with her husband.
Mm-hmm.
She is, I mean, she's not being assaulted or anything like that, but sex is being done to her.
Yes.
And then immediately afterwards, she comes upon Devlin and she actually participates and appreciates the sex that is happening there. And it's not even full sex or whatever, but that scene definitely, it felt very pivotal to me.
Yeah. I do like those two scenes, and they happen very close together.
I think it's right afterward. It's she has
because they fall asleep and then she goes out to him. You're right. Mm-hmm. You're right. Yeah, I really do love the positioning of those scenes, and you're right. It's not assault. It is, but it also falls into that womanly duty, or that the church kind of instills into you are required almost to do this, and and it's not so much, again, not that those two don't love each other. It's just okay, this is how he needs to show, or neither one of us know how to show true affection or love or sensuality or sexuality to one another at that time. So
that's a really good point. Yeah. And I do appreciate preceding the scene where she's actually having sex with her husband, there is a scene where he asks her and she says no.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't give a hard no, but she gives I don't really know. And he's like, that's fine. Wake me up if you feel like it. I really did appreciate that scene, because I feel in a lot of historical fiction, it's just it's taken to the violence immediately. And this felt very much more reality based and chill. And it was okay, she doesn't want to, so it's not gonna happen. So I definitely appreciated that scene. And that comes maybe, I don't know, 20 minutes, half an hour before the actual scene where they are having sex. And she just looks so fucking bored.
No, she does.
I was oh, and then he's like, I'm sorry, I'm making so much noise. And it's dead silent in that room. And I was like, I'm embarrassed for both of you.
And I also think it's interesting how unsexy they make Hugh Grant out to be in this movie.
Which is impressive. Okay, I know he's baby Hugh Grant, but again, with me, my context knowing him was Bridget Jones's Diary, which he's the bad boy, sexy guy. And then I see him in this film and I'm like, oh no, you're a Ken doll down there.
Yeah, just so unfuckable at all times.
Yeah.
And oblivious too. So that's another thing to point out during that scene, is that he is, just hammering home whatever he's doing there and just oblivious to her just staring at the ceiling.
Yeah. Disassociating, completely not there.
He's got a mission though, and he needs to, finish the mission.
I was very confused by what sect of Christianity they are, because I was they're bishops. What?
Anglican is what they are. So
that's kind of what I figured, because it's the closest thing Catholic you can get with a priest still being
right.
marry.
Yeah, and I think Anglican is known as I think that is the Church of England, like their official what they were like, okay, we're not going to deal with Catholicism anymore, but we still like our procedures and our traditions, so let's keep doing some of this stuff.
That's
But yeah,
humanity.
their priests can have sex, so that's a bonus for them.
Excellent.
Yeah. Another scene. Well, we didn't even talk about Devlin and her after this because I mean, obviously, that happens right after.
And I like the like detail where she's like reimagining herself being tied up the way that she was in the only other scene where she like has a direct interaction with Devlin.
Mm-hmm.
So like in the middle of the sex scene, she is remembering and like, okay, so I was like, okay, sweetheart, you got a bondage kink. Explore that. Have fun.
Is there a painting where there is a woman that is tied up? Like, I feel like that is definitely mythological.
Yeah, I think it's probably LOL chat, don't we all felt? There is a scene in Greek mythology where I believe it's a princess tied to a rock and she's being offered up as tribute to I think an angry god of some sort, and Perseus saves her.
Okay.
Bad that I don't remember her name. Andromeda, maybe? No.
Is it Andromeda? That seemed correct to me.
Maybe. I remember Perseus more than I remember the woman's name, which patriarchy. But I'm sure that there are multiple paintings of a nude woman tied up because male gaze.
Right.
Yay. I can't think of a specific one off the top of my
head. I know there's something in mythology about it, especially the way she just kind of looked when she was tied up, going back to that original thing. But yeah, she is into some.
That scene where they tied her up to the tree and Devlin comes gave me such anxiety because I was sitting there and I was just like, do not assault her. Like that is the only thing that was going through my mind. I was like, Devlin, we like you. Don't fuck it up.
Yeah, I don't know if I was that worried about it because it seemed like such a light movie at the time, and I was like, "There's no way that this movie's gonna take a big turn here."
That would have been a really big turn, but at the same, I don't know. It's always a possibility in my mind. I was just like, "Oh, don't fuck it up." And then it was like very like he kind of brushed her boob a little bit, and then I was like, "He's blind. He is blind." And then
which I want to talk about later too.
Oh yeah, like is he actually blind?
Yeah.
We'll
talk about that. We'll talk about
okay.
that. Yeah, I don't know. And I also like as sexual as that scene was with her and Devlin, I didn't think it was, I don't know. I wasn't like amazed by it. We've watched a lot of movies. I've seen a lot of movies with other sexier scenes. It felt like,
sure.
But I did like the hair thing that he did with her. Like he got in her hair.
Oh, did he? I didn't.
Like he like grabbed her. Like I don't know. There was something there that I was like,
we love that.
All right, we love it. Not like a forceful thing, but like just had his hands in her hair, and I was like, Hugh Grant's never done that to that woman.
No. Anthony has never.
No.
But I do think that that's a very pivotal moment because, well, maybe that's a less pivotal moment than, and I don't remember if that comes before the scene where all three women are basically getting giddy off.
Oh, that happens before this because that's like before she I think that's even before she sees Devlin.
But is it because Hugh Grant gets really mad because he comes upon them and he gets really mad? Obviously, his wife is cheating on him essentially. But I think that the scene where she decides to go have a sexual encounter with Getty is extremely pivotal because up until that time, it's almost like sex is happening to her.
Mm-hmm.
And then at that point, she's like, no, I'm going to participate and I'm going to initiate.
Yeah.
And then after that, she's like, I am like owning my sexuality, owning me, like being a sexual person. I get to now initiate and be a participant, an active participant.
Yeah. I think that actually happens after the town scene. because that's where she's kind of seen like the mistreatment of these women, and that these women are actually, you know, much deeper than what she initially thought. They're not just these harlequins or these sexual beings. There's a lot more to them. They have wants and desires, and they, you know, can express those things, and she wants that. And when she, you know, they do their thing on the beach or whatever, I do think that comes before she has sex with her husband. So I'm wondering if she has sex with her husband in the hopes that maybe this time, after I've had this, maybe this time he'll do something, or maybe he will awaken something in me that will, you know, he'll ravage me or whatever it is. Like maybe this time it'll be different, and then it isn't. And that's when she goes to Devlin and she's like, okay, let's get this going.
Well, see, the thing that makes me wonder if that is the correct order is because like he is upset with her.
Yes.
After because he sees them obviously all like for participating in this sexual encounter, and he gets mad. So it's like in my mind, I'm like, would he still have sex with her if he's like, you cheated on me and I'm mad at you?
Well, I think that also comes back at the end when he says like she basically is like, hey, I want to tell you something. He's like, nah, let's keep some secrets.
Which I also really appreciate. Like, as unfuckable as Anthony is, I appreciate the fact that he is like, that's okay. Let's just let it be. It's fine.
Yeah.
Like, I really appreciated that with him. And the other moment that like I really appreciated him was when he was very upset that Norman put her likeness in a painting. And he's like fighting for her. He's like, how dare you put my wife in this painting? It looks like she modeled for you. And then she goes to see it, and all she says is it's a good likeness, and he just walks away. And at first I thought that he was just really, really mad at her, but I think that was him just like accepting that she's chill with it.
Yeah.
And that's all that matters. If she's chill with it, then he's chill with it. And I appreciated that. I'm like, you're still unfuckable, but at least you're not a dick.
Yeah. I think that's a really good point. And I do like that scene. And I think afterward with the train scene and everything, it kind of
train scene cracked me up.
Yeah, train scene's great. Chat says, I think he might be thinking she wants sex. I'll give her sex, prove that I can do that too. Maybe. I like that. I like that as an interpretation. Yeah. Which, like,
yeah, you can do this as much as you want. That doesn't mean that anything is happening.
But he also doesn't know. Like, I mean, obviously he doesn't know what to do other than that. It is sex is for this, and
sex is to have babies, and I enjoy it. That's all that matters.
Right. And does he enjoy it? I don't know.
That's a good point.
There's sometimes when I see, and you might know this too, coming from a Christian college, as I went to a Christian college as well. Like these people that don't kiss until their wedding day, are like, do they know what they're doing? Do they know to enjoy, or do they think this is like?
I don't know. There's such like weird. I mean, people go through like years and years of just therapy to undo all of that bullshit. And it's so ingrained in our society that it's like I feel like everybody has to go through a little bit of therapy to actually undo all of that bullshit, because I don't know, because there's always a little bit of guilt. And if you say that you have zero guilt for having sex outside of marriage, I'm kind of called bullshit. Like, I don't know. I think that everybody does have at least a little bit of it. And
99% of sex is enjoyed by men,
including sex that men are not participating in.
Yeah.
That's where when I realized that, I was like, oh yeah, this is written and directed by a man. It's like, of course there are lesbian sex scenes. Of course there are.
Why not? It's dope.
It is dope. At the same time, there's a part of me that is going like, our love is not for your gays. Get out of here.
Definitely not for male gays. It is for women gays. They're called lesbians.
They are cool.
Let's see here. We've got some other people in the chat. Hashtag lesbians are dope. That's going to be the theme this year.
True.
First off, did you just pick this movie because it's on Tubi? Maybe. I'm a big Tubi guy. Get out of here. Okay.
It was free. It was free to watch. What do you want?
One more scene I wanted to pick out because we talked about the ending a little bit. We talked about the train scene where she's kind of giving him a footy and he's a little bit.
And then everybody wakes up and knows
yes,
what's happening.
But they also still don't like wake up. They're all like kind of, I'm watching, but we're going to enjoy this. Before all this stuff is the church scene, which I really did. I liked because it is about like Estella going through all her things where she sees herself like naked, ashamed, in church while she's looking at that girl who was playing with the town's the kids in the town and all that stuff. See her as like she's going to be the next iteration of these sirens, and I don't know.
I did have a moment where she's going through all of that in her brain. I had a moment where I was like, this is problematic. And that is when she is imagining herself running towards these children, and then all of a sudden she's naked and running. And I'm like, those are children. Stop it.
I only bring you on for the children stuff.
Yeah, why?
Whenever there's just weird things.
I was like, okay. Like I understood what was happening, and like she was putting herself in the place of the female child in that scene and everything. But at the same time, I'm like, kids, stop it. Oh, and Jinx doesn't like that. Okay, I'll stop.
Stop it. Yeah, stop it. No, I just like that. Again, that's like that might be like the final straw that kind of like she's still like dealing with her. Should I or should I not move forward with all this stuff? So,
yeah.
All right. Did you have a favorite character, or was there somebody that stole the scene for you?
I mean, I loved Estella. I did. I think that she was remarkably well written, even though she really expressed a lot of the changes that she was going through in a completely nonverbal way. Would have loved to give her more lines, but she was very stoic and silent throughout most of this movie. But I thought that who's the actress who played her?
Tara Fitzgerald, I think. Tara Fitzgerald, yes.
She did an amazing job. Like going through all of these changes again in a very like completely nonverbal way, but like from the beginning, I kind of fan casted her, which I mean, I know that we'll get to, but I fan casted her and I was just like, yes, this actress can play somebody with a stick up their ass. So they're perfect. And then by the end, she is the complete opposite. And she did a really, really good job.
Yeah, it is really impressive though. Like you're saying, like a lot of nonverbal stuff, you could tell, like even just from her face and facial expressions, her loosening up, the stick coming out of her ass, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like you know
and
exactly
then going back
how
in and then coming back out and then going.
Yeah. From her husband.
Yeah. I also think that Giddy was a really interesting character for sure.
That's who I had written down was Giddy. Yeah. This is Portia de Rossi's first role. That's Ellen's wife. For everybody, she's also from Arrested Development.
God, I did not put that together that she's married to Ellen.
Yeah.
Okay.
She actually swears off men in this movie, so it makes sense.
She was like, yeah, I get it. Lesbians. Yeah. Let's go.
That's where it's at. No, I loved Giddy. I thought she got some really good lines. She did remind me of her character a little bit from Arrested Development, just with some of the mannerisms and the way she delivered some lines and stuff. But no, I loved her. I thought she was great.
Yeah, for sure.
And hashtag lesbians are dope. We can't get away from it. I agree with you though about Estella. I think Estella is one of the stronger characters in the movie.
So canonically, I do believe that Estella is bisexual.
That's great.
I mean, do you agree?
I don't disagree. I don't know if they exist. Like exist is like I don't know if she would know what to call herself.
That's true. The term might not exist or have existed in her mind, but I like canonically, like she experiences her sexual awakening through both women and men.
Mhm.
And then by the end of the film, like she is definitely making passes at her husband. So I'm like, okay, so you're not a lesbian because you're still
Right.
into that dick. But I think you're dead. I think she's definitely into women too.
Yeah, I'm completely good for her. I'm here for that journey.
We won't have
Um,
any bi erasure in this
no,
podcast.
absolutely not. All right, were there any quotes that really stuck out to you?
I mean, get fucked.
Get fucked is the best quote.
Immediately, like that had me laughing out loud. I do think that that set a tone for the movie that the rest of the movie did not match up to.
Mm-hmm.
Because that was very early on that they meet this guy and he just goes, get fucked. You get fucked too. And I was just like, I laughed really hard. And then early on in the movie also, Hugh Grant's character, I don't remember the entire quote, but he says orgies, not orgies. He says orgies. And immediately I knew, I was like, oh, you poor thing. You little virgin. I was like, you might have had sex, but you're still a virgin.
You are still a virgin. I was going to say that. That's really good.
What about you? Any new quotes?
I've got a few quotes. We've talked about some of them. Get fucked. I'm bloody bored. One I liked is when they asked Anthony if he would pose, and she said, "Well, you could always wear a dagger strategically placed or a sword, whichever you need." I really liked that one.
I loved that too. I like that she went for dagger first.
Yes, I did like that. Anthony has a good line that I think is obviously like laughable to us. He probably didn't say it intentionally funny, but he said, "Well, I don't think the church can be blamed for everything that's been done in its name, but we'll take this up later." And I was like,
Okay.
That one hurts, bro.
Yeah. I do also, it was a moment of like absolute pure power from a character that we really don't hear much from. And that was when Norman's wife is asking Anthony if he saw the work, the woman on the cross. And she just goes, I was the model.
Yes.
Fuck it up, queen. Yes, you were.
I'm pretty sure. I was watching it with Alyssa. I'm pretty sure she had the exact same reaction.
I absolutely loved it. I was just like, yes, the fuck you were. Mm-hmm.
Sheila asks, Estella, do you like your husband? And Estella responds with, do people usually marry people they don't like? And Sheila says, quite often, I'd say.
And that was my exact reaction too. I remember nodding. I was like, yeah, I know that happens a lot.
Let's see here if I have any others. I did like the scene from Giddy, or this line. I don't know if it's again like the girls kind of making fun of Giddy a little bit, and she said, "Did you know it's dangerous to wake somebody up if they're dreaming? Well, because you leave part of their brain behind, and if it happens too many times, you go feeble in the head." And Sheila says, "Yeah, you're living proof." I really like that. So.
Listen, we love Sheila. We do. Like, I'm a Sheila stan, if nothing else. Okay.
Sheila, I mean, I was quite impressed with Sheila.
It's Elle McPherson, right?
Elle McPherson, yes. So Elle McPherson, a famous model. This is only her second movie, her first speaking role, and I thought she kind of nailed it. Like
she did. She was so good. Like, I think that she was. I did think, like, right at the beginning, I was like, she's a little over sexualized, but I don't think that was her. I think that was the director.
Yeah.
I think that a lot of the choices that she made, she was probably told, like, hey, be super sexual. And she was just like, bro, I got you.
Done.
I got you. I will fillet these mashed potatoes. Yeah.
Ridiculous.
I don't remember the exact quotes, but the entire scene where Norman, the artist, is basically just going off about the church. Mm-hmm. I think that he made absolute, like, just point after point after point. And I was just sitting there. I was just like, I agree with everything that you're saying. Like, I thought that it was extremely well, like, written extremely well. And I think that he delivered it with just enough passion in what he was saying, but also distraction because he's like, I got to get back to my art.
Yeah.
It was great.
I like the arguing scenes, but I also want to point out how during one of those big arguing scenes at the table, Giddy starts helping Hugh Grant or Anthony, and
Yeah.
he goes, "Don't pay attention. Like basically, don't pay attention to what she's saying. She's not arguing well enough for me to for
Right.
us to continue. Just listen to me. I'm saying the correct
Like,
thing."
this is a woman of loose morals, and also she's
Yeah.
dumb. Low key,
Yeah.
love you, sweetie. You're dumb. Shh.
So I thought that was kind of interesting. And there are other conversations that they're having or arguments that they're having where the models will step in and say something, or Norman's wife Norman's wife will interject. And it still does feel like, even though they get their words in and they get their, positive words in, it still feels like, all right, thanks.
They're ignored.
Thanks, guys. We'll handle this.
Yeah, exactly.
Men are talking.
That's the feeling. Yeah, it's like, okay, sweetie, bye. And like, I don't want to speak for all women, but that's a damn near universal experience of just like being in a room with a man, even if it's just like one man present, like the amount of times that it's like they'll repeat something that you just said and everybody else is like, oh yeah, that's a good point. And you're just kind of sitting there like, thank you.
Yeah.
I made that point 15 minutes ago. The fuck?
Exactly.
So it's that was very, again, extremely well written. And yeah, I think also acted very well.
Yeah. Biggest laugh, cry, scare, thrill, any of these?
Biggest laugh was the first time that guy he said get fucked.
Yeah, get fucked is pretty.
Get fucked is iconic. And also the little girl saying I'm bloody bored. That got a full like belly laugh out of me.
I also liked when the men came over to take the models out, and the girls run up to them, and one of the little girls says, "You've got sheep poo under your fingers."
Yeah, that was really funny. I feel like there was a good amount of things that I was like kind of shocked by, and like, but in a positive way, where I was like, oh, this is surprisingly like progressive, and I wasn't expecting it to go this way. And I do think that one of those was when Estella was tied up behind the tree, and like the guy came over and I had that anxiety moment, and then it didn't go the way that I thought it was going to, and I was like, oh, thank God.
Yeah, there were a lot of moments that are like scary moments like that, or moments when Estella might get caught doing what she's doing, or peeking, or being a peeping Tom, whatever it is. But she does get caught by Norman, which I think leads to like he's kind of being the Pan figure. In this,
I like that.
He is like the Pan figure of all of these women, and kind of or like Midsummer Night's Dream with Puck, where he's kind of, I am the mastermind behind all this, and I'm making them do these things. And
I love that connection.
Yeah,
and I did not think that. That is.
I think there's actually a painting in the movie where Pan is there with like 3 women behind him.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, I think there is I think it might be a Norman Lindsay painting
I
too.
love that.
So I'll have to look that up.
That's amazing.
I don't know anything about Norman Lindsay, but we'll find out more.
I mean, the very first, I think, shocking moment for me was in that like kind of first scene where they're at the gallery, which I think was in a church, and you do see that painting that the church is so hung up by, and it gave me a shock as somebody who grew up Catholic, because it's a woman being crucified as Christ, basically.
Yeah.
And that gave me a shock, because I was like, oh, I get it. I get why the church is mad about this. That makes sense. I was like, if I were a practicing Catholic, I would also think that was blasphemous. I was like, I feel that. But as a non-practicing Catholic, I'm like, yeah, no, we fucking love you, Norman. You're awesome.
Yeah. What a great painting.
What a great painting. Can I buy that painting?
Yeah. I'd love to see it. I wonder if it's still around.
I wonder. I don't know.
We'll look. The only other thing I put down is that Australia is just a scary fucking place. Like,
It is, but also beautiful. Those
Oh,
shots where you see the mountains and things is gorgeous. But I would not put up with the spiders for that.
yeah. There's so many snakes and spiders that I'm out. I don't
Yeah.
mind the crickets so much. There were a lot of flies, which I didn't. When we were watching, we kept trying to figure out, like, obviously, like the snakes. Somebody we were talking about in chat here that the animals kind of feel very Garden of Eden. The
Yes.
snakes feel like first sin.
Yes.
Um,
Which,
and
I mean, flies, Beelzebub, Lord of the Flies. So
okay.
could be very like demonic in that way.
We
but
could not think of why the flies existed, but that is good, like a Lord of the Flies kind of thing. Yeah.
it could be, yeah, because Beelzebub is, that's like literally what it translates to is Lord of the Flies. And he's one of the seven princes of hell, I think.
I was just thinking of like decay of morality and like flies maybe being attracted to that decay
Could
as
be, but
that's
they felt
happening.
very innocent. It
Yeah.
was very like, oh, these flies. And like, I think that could actually kind of play into it of like, oh, this big scary thing that the Catholic Church wants you to be terrified of. And it's like, it's just a little
Mhm.
fly. Get out of
Yeah, and somebody just brought up the mosquito and like the mosquito getting squashed in the blood. I was thinking like virginal, like virginity being taken, something like that. Like that's what I was thinking, because it does happen right after she
She's
witnesses that. Yeah, she was peeping.
Yeah.
So
Ooh, I like that symbolism. Now, this could be a situation where it's like, the English teacher being like, the curtains are blue because the author was depressed and it's about the sea also. And it's like, the curtains were blue because the curtains were fucking blue. But
Right.
I do like this connection of like, the blood and virginal. And that's like kind of the moment where she was like, oh, I am a sexual being.
Mm-hmm. And I felt like, just because this movie is about art and
Mhm.
about sexual repression, but we are in this artist's world.
Mhm.
We are here, that I felt like everything had to, like, everything was kind of up
Everything's
for
intentional.
interpretation. Everything had a meaning.
Yeah. It's all very intentional and like, that's very much that's why I got into what I do, because I was
Mhm.
like, I was always like, all of these paintings, like every single little detail has a meaning and it all adds up to one story that you could talk about for hours just in this one image. So I do definitely see that, and I'm here for this interpretation. I love it.
Yeah, we as Alyssa and I were watching it at the time, we just kept. I think we might have paused it a couple times because there were a lot of bugs, and
Mhm.
Alyssa did not like bugs, so we did stop it a couple times, but we were talking mostly like, what is the symbolism, and we couldn't find any, like, anybody had written about this movie, or even the writer director didn't write about this movie and how all these things. So maybe it is one of those painting things, like, I don't need to hold your hand, you interpret it how you want to interpret it. So
True. Now, the one reference that I do not understand, the Titanic.
it was. I
That
think
was
somebody
throughout the
said that
whole
it
movie.
was. Somebody tried to explain it, but I think it was just a goof.
But
I
it
don't
was
know.
throughout the whole movie. It was like,
But it wasn't.
the
It wasn't
opening
supposed to
scene,
be like
she
the
was, like, on
Titanic. I don't think.
But the end scene, it starts. They're on the train, and it starts with a picture, and it's named the Titanic.
Mm-hmm.
And you see
Maybe.
this like toy steamship throughout the entire movie, and sometimes the snake is going towards it, like it's in the fountain. The opening scene, I'm assuming she's on the Titanic. It's in black and white. It's on a steamer ship. And
Yeah.
immediately in my mind, I'm like, black and white steamer ship, Titanic. And was this before or after the movie came out?
So the Titanic happened probably 20 years before this. This
Movie?
Well, not before the movie. The Titanic.
no, yeah.
Oh, you're talking about Titanic the movie?
Yeah, because I'm
That
like,
was like 3 years after this.
oh, okay.
So I think that
Chat says maybe because the Sirens sank a bunch of ships.
Oh,
I
okay.
like this. I like that.
I didn't think about that one. Also, Titanic dealing with Titans and Greek mythology, another thing. The only thing I could find about the Titanic was that it was a mistake that they specifically used a picture of the Titanic, because at this time the Titanic had two other sister ships. This is me nerding out about Titanic.
The Lusitania and the Mauritania. I'm right there with you with the nerd. Was it
And
the
then
Mauritania?
So a lot of the ships looked like this. The steamer ships looked like this with
They did.
the four smokestacks, everything like that. So I think there was an accident with the Titanic, but I do like the Sirens sinking the Titanic, though. I like that interpretation. I'm going to go with that and say that that's what their intention was.
I love it. I love it. Because I kept on thinking, I was like, she's on the ship. So I was like, if it was the Titanic, they would have mentioned it.
Right.
And I also love like that first scene really sets up the whole like kind of feeling of sex being something that happens to her, because she's standing there in this like, beautiful dress, and this guy is like giving her the up and down, and she's not interested. So I'm like, all right, she's just, again, stick up her ass, like, because I was like, this guy's a cutie, actually. But she was totally uninterested. And I'm like, yeah, okay. Now with hindsight, I'm like, yeah, I get why you're not interested. I get it.
Yeah, I just read something else that was talking about the Titanic being a disaster, and like other things that are mentioned in this movie, shark attacks, poison spiders in the toilets, venomous snake attacks at the schoolyard, that World War I amputee. There's just a lot of bad things happening. So they were like, it kind of goes along with it. I still like the chat's
like the
version
Sirens.
of the Sirens.
Yeah, we're gonna go with that. That was
Yeah.
the intention by the director. We don't need to ask him directly. That just was. It's the reality.
I'm not going to reach out to him. So Chad is saying that's my WTF moment. All the headlines in the movie as their most ridiculous. Is that what did you have for your most ridiculous moment? Or
the most ridiculous was probably he was killed by a shark, like nonchalant.
Yeah.
Just totally like, yeah, shark. And then I thought it was really funny. I mean, they really abided by the comedic rule of 3. It was like, he was killed by a shark. He was killed by a shark. And then the third one, she was like, was he killed by a shark? It's like, no.
I forget what happened to him.
Die in the war or something like that?
I think that's what it was.
Yeah. I was just like,
that was good.
Okay, funny.
I just put fairies aren't real. That's what I put for my ridiculous moment. No.
They're not?
Not according to the behind the scenes shot that we got there.
There are real fairies. They're just not. It's just not those ones.
You have to believe, though.
You have to believe, and you have to clap. Right?
And you have to clap. You're right. Oh, yeah. They only found his foot in the war. That's right. That's right.
And then the other one, it was like they only had his arm and the watch.
Oh, yeah. This movie's wild.
This movie's wild.
This one, I don't remember the score very well or best music moment. I have one written down. Did you have anything specifically? Mine is very small.
The music that I remember is the songs that the girls were singing, like the models were singing. My music moment was more of a personal one. It was because they were singing a song that I knew, which is "Tell Me Ma," which
that's what I wrote down. So
I do like that they used, like, the director did his fucking research, because again, Australia was an English penal colony, so the fact that it's populated mainly by Irish families is so historically accurate, because the English would have just been sending all of those Irish people away because they didn't want the Irish with them. They wanted them to just go away. So like the fact that it was just so Irish, so culturally Irish, I was like, okay, good job with the history. You did well.
Yeah.
And yeah, Tell Me Ma, I did a really horrendous Irish step dance to that. I was not good, but I heard the song and I was like, I know that song. I know that.
Yes, so that's what I wrote down, and then I wrote, she's handsome, she's pretty, she's the queen of Belfast City. So same one here. All right, I'm going to play a game with you now. I hope you're ready. We're going to play Smash or Pass instead of F, Marry, Kill. Because I did think, like, okay, let's take the 3 Sirens. We'll do an F, Marry, Kill with them. But that's not very fun because...
No. But so I will tell you, this is going to be very easy.
Oh, so. Yeah. I imagine it will be. So let's start out with Anthony, Reverend Anthony Campion. And take into account the entire movie.
Pass.
Okay. That's what I figured anyway. Let's go with Estella.
Smash.
Norman Lindsay.
Smash.
Okay. Sheila.
Smash.
Okay. Giddy.
Smash.
Okay. Prue.
Smash.
Okay. Rose Lindsay.
Smash. I don't even know who that is. Smash.
That's his wife. That's Norman's wife.
Smash.
Yeah. Devlin.
Smash.
Okay.
Give
So
him
we
a
only
wax first, please. But even still,
smash all of them except Hugh is very
chat
funny.
got
Yeah.
it immediately. I had one pass, and that pass was Reverend Anthony. That guy's just way too milquetoast. Maybe after he and his wife explore some kinks, I'd be interested in considering smashing. Until then, I'm not going to teach Amanda how to have sex.
I was about to say, are people teachable? How much are we willing to teach?
We're not going to get into that on this podcast, Cody. That's another podcast.
It's a more personal podcast.
That's a much more personal podcast where I talk about my history. We're not going to do that.
We're not going to do that today.
No.
That's
Do
fair.
you have anybody that you would particularly smash or pass in this movie?
I don't know. Like, okay, I'm weird in this sense. Like,
your girlfriend is watching.
I know she's watching, and that's why I'm only. I don't. There's something weird about Devlin that I'm like, I get it. He's rugged. He's this Australian guy. Yeah, he's blind. He might have a couple things screw loose.
He has nary a word in this movie. I don't think he speaks.
He does. He speaks once.
Does he speak once? Okay.
Yeah, at the dinner table.
I don't remember. Again, this is like a moment of appreciation where I'm like, he occupies a space in this movie that is typically relegated to women. He is eye candy. He is there to be looked at, and that is it. That's it.
I don't know. Devlin wasn't he's not my type.
All right, fair enough.
Norman, I'm in. He's an artist. He gets it.
He's passionate.
He's passionate. He likes to talk smack on the church. I love it. I love the whole thing. And you know what? I'll smash Hugh Grant's character.
You could be persuaded to smash.
I think I could do it.
You would open up a lot of doors for that man, okay?
Definitely. I'll show him something. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I don't know. Devlin's just not my type. He's just not my type.
Okay. All right, fair enough.
I mean, watching J.O. on a beach, I don't know. Who knows?
I will say, like, Devlin, I'm like, yes, immediately smash. With a couple caveats. You need to take a shower.
Everybody in this thing needs to take a shower.
I mean, fair. But he needs to at least shave his knuckles. I can appreciate a man with hair, but like there was that scene where he and Estella are, having their moment and everything. And like there's this close up where he's like this on her chest. And the only thought in my mind was, my God, that's a hairy man.
I know. It looked like Robin Williams' body.
Ooh. I
love it. Give me that hair. Yeah. All right. Who gave the best performance, do you think, as the actress or actor?
Again, I'm gonna say Estella, but with a very close. Actually, I think. Oh my gosh, they were all really good. Like for this movie, I don't think that the movie in particular was really good, but I think that all of the acting was phenomenal. Like, I was going to say a really close follow-up to Sheila L. McPherson, because she just did such a good job portraying the character. But honestly, they all did. Like, the only reason I was gonna not immediately say Hugh Grant did a great job, but then I realized I was like, no, Hugh Grant made me dislike him, but also understand him and also commiserate a little bit. So I'm like, Hugh Grant did a great, honestly, 10 out of 10 on all of the actors.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think everybody did a wonderful. I think you kind of convinced me. I was on the fence earlier, but I think Tara Fitzgerald as Estella, I think you really sold her with the just face acting. Like you said, she doesn't get a lot of words. She does talk way more than Devlin, but
True.
just her character has made a breakthrough, with the way she's acting with her face.
Yeah.
So.
And it's like the thing that really made me realize that was the final scene where she's giving her husband a footsie on the train,
Yeah.
surrounded by people. And I was just like, I had this moment of like, oh my God, you're a 180 different person than you were at the beginning of this movie.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
More comfortable. Just relaxed.
Yeah.
She's
Give your
got it.
husband that footsie, girl. Pop off. Once again.
You might. Yeah. Let's do that. All right. I'm interested in your recast because I just want to know.
Yeah.
I've got some good ones, I think, but.
So my first one was Estella. And again, like I said, like I had her because I had this in mind. I knew that you were going to ask this question. So I was like, I got to be prepared. The first person I was like, this person can do stoic very, very well. And they can do nuance very, very well. And that is Florence Pugh.
Okay. I do like that.
Yeah.
Florence
I was like
Pugh.
the frowns and the like kind of like judgment at the beginning, but then at the same time, it's like the very subtle changes to being more accepting and like realizing. I was like, Florence Pugh would eat this.
Yeah.
It'd be amazing. Anthony, and I kind of feel like I maybe typecast by young Hugh Grant's face.
Mm-hmm.
He's kind of got a rat face.
Yeah, a little bit.
I went Timothy Chalamet.
Okay.
I don't think I've ever seen him act in anything, but I was just like, Timothy Chalamet.
Yeah. Little
Some,
ratty.
He gets Ken doll, nothing below the belt vibes.
Okay. I'll ask Kendall. Or not Kendall, I'll ask whatever the one that's dating him. Kylie, my bad.
Yeah. Norman, I only thought of this like well after the fact. So I watched this movie last night and I thought of this like this morning. So Norman Lindsay, I have as Stanley Tucci.
Okay.
I think that he would do really well with like the passionate like arguments, but then also being like kind of spacey in that artistic way.
Yeah. Stanley Tucci can do no wrong, honestly.
This is true. Stanley Tucci gives much stronger daddy vibes than who's the actual actor? What's his name?
Sam Neill.
Sam Neill. Sam Neill doesn't give me as strong of daddy vibes as Stanley Tucci would.
Mm-hmm.
But I would appreciate the daddy vibes.
It's what's your preference for daddy? Is
Stanley Tucci.
Stanley Tucci. Okay.
So Prue, Prue was the communist.
Yes.
Yeah. And like the anger there made me think of this actress that I know from Supernatural.
Okay, I'm with you.
Catherine Newton.
Oh yeah, Catherine Newton. She's huge now.
I know, and I cannot wait to see her in Lisa Frankenstein. It looks campy as hell. I'm so excited to see that. But she does anger really well, and I think that she could really like tap into that like fuck the bourgeoisie kind of feeling that Prue had.
Mm-hmm.
And the only other person that I was actually able to typecast, or that I was actually able to like fan cast in my mind, was Getty, and that I had either Halle Bailey, who did the live action Little Mermaid, or Joey King. I think that they both do innocent very, very well. Joey King was in The Act, played Gypsy Rose Blanchard.
Yeah, the kissing booth girl.
Yes, the kissing booth girl. I think they both do like innocent really, really well.
Yeah.
And I do think that they could both like play giddy with enough of that nuance that you see them go through. Sheila's gonna just be Elle Macpherson again.
She could probably still do it, honestly.
She could. And you know what I realized that I knew I recognized her from something. Did she not play? Were you a friend? Did you watch Friends?
Not like religiously, but I did.
She played Joey's new roommate who he was in love with.
Oh.
This is what I remember her from. I was like, she was on Friends for like maybe a 5 episode arc.
Yeah.
And Joey was just in love with her. And all of the rest of the friends were like, you can't fuck her because you'll just not want to be with her, but you live with her.
Okay.
So like that's where I remember her from, and I was just like, she has always been in my, you know, baby brain. She's always been a sex symbol because of that. So I'm like, Ella McPherson is just gonna be Ella McPherson again.
That works.
Done.
I nerded out a lot on this, and not nerded out in like a good way. But I did go all Australian for the Australian people.
Interesting. Okay.
And then
I'm
for
not
Emma,
gonna know any of these people then.
for Estella and Anthony, I went with two British actors.
Okay.
And they were the British actors that played Prince Charles and Princess Diana. Not the most recent ones, but the ones before, which their names are Josh O'Connor and Emma Corrin. There's something about Emma
Emma
Corrin.
Corrin, yes.
There's something about Emma Corrin with her face, especially where she can play kind of like, especially if you're playing like Diana, who doesn't want to be where she was that entire time. That gives me a lot of like Estella vibes.
Yeah.
So I really liked Emma Corrin. She was like first person I thought of. I was like,
and you're talking like they played these people on The Crown, right?
Yes, on The Crown.
I have not watched The Crown, nor do I think that I will.
And then Josh O'Connor, he's going to be in that movie, a new movie with Zendaya and called Challengers. It's a tennis movie. It looks very good. But for Norman Lindsay, I picked Eric Bana. He gave me daddy vibes. He gives me daddy vibes, especially with like a beard.
Immediately, Eric Bana. How would I know him? Would I know him?
He was in Troy. He was in Hulk. He was in.
Okay. No, yeah, I recognize the face.
Yeah.
Okay.
Funny People. He's in a lot of stuff. Rose Byrne for his wife.
Ooh, I do love Rose Byrne.
You're gonna know some of these. So,
yes.
Margot Robbie for Sheila.
Okay. I can see that. I don't. I'm like, does she have enough of that like intentional sexuality?
But
then she does. I guess I'm thinking of her more in like the
Barbie?
Harley Quinn role.
And
it's like that is like aggressive more than it is sexual. She's just like, in my mind, that role is more secondarily sexual because men find her sexy because she just has a hot body. But it's like any other actress acting the exact same way as Harley Quinn would not be seen as sexy.
Yeah. I think of her more in Babylon and Wolf of Wall Street. Those characters she plays in those two movies.
Okay.
Although she's coked out of her mind in Babylon the whole time. So, well, she's coked out of her mind and aren't we all? You're right. Sarah Snook for Prue. Sarah Snook from Succession, redhead. She's Australian. I felt like she could kind of fill the communist role that we had talked about. And then for Giddy, only because I've seen her recently.
Sorry.
You're good. Is Angry? Yes, her name is Angourie Rice, who plays Katie in the new Mean Girls movie. She's Australian.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Again, so a movie that I have not yet seen, nor do I really think that I will. I don't know about that one.
You can skip it. You can skip
it. I want to see it just for Renee Rapp, if I'm being totally honest.
Yeah, as most people do.
Well, Renee Rapp played her on Broadway for all of, 3 shows? Because Mean Girls on Broadway, first of all, starring Renee Rapp as Regina and Sabrina Carpenter as Katie.
Yeah.
Came out March 2020. Like, they debuted on Broadway March 2020. That cast will never happen again, unfortunately.
No.
But I could see that as Getty. Yes. She definitely has like the innocence.
Yes. That's what I was shooting for, that innocence and like yeah, I'll just go with that innocence thing. So, that's it. let's see. Did you do any research? I know you said you probably didn't look into much of this, but
I didn't. I wanted to be surprised by
okay. I
everything.
didn't have a ton. I already gave you a couple things that it was filmed at Norman Lindsay's real home, which is now
I love
a museum in Australia. The woman who played Estella, Tara Fitzgerald, she didn't hang out with the rest of the cast at all. They partied. Hugh Grant has said this is one of his favorite movies that he's ever done because of like how well everybody got together or got along and like had a good time and things like that. But he or she did not hang out with him whenever they partied, just to help her be more like secluded and feel secluded in her
Okay, so
role.
that's like a little bit of a method actor.
Yeah, little
situation.
method.
I kind of do read that though. Like she very much is seen like she seems very separated from the rest of the cast.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And then I hinted at it earlier that Norman Lindsay is not a good man at all. Even though he seems like a cool dude in this.
He's a white man in 1930s.
Yeah, that's a good reaction.
That's not good.
The historical Norman Lindsay firmly believed that women, Asians, and black people were intellectually inferior to white men and called the malady of modernist art a conspiracy led by Jewish art dealers. So this guy was not a good guy in real life.
Anti-Semitic, misogynistic,
Yes.
racist, and anti-Asian. Like he's taking boxes.
Hitting them all.
So there's this really interesting book that I hope to read. I have not read it yet because I work in an art museum and I do not make money to afford books and luxuries like that.
Libraries are free.
Yeah. But there's this book called Monsters, A Fan's Dilemma. And it came out very recently. And it's all about the concept of loving and appreciating the art, but acknowledging that the artist is problematic.
Ooh,
and that is at best, it's like, or love the art, hate the artist kind of concept. Because I mean, like, if you name a single artist, like I could probably tell you things about them. Pablo Picasso was a pedophile.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, no matter kind of who you go to, there's something wrong. So it's like, I'm sure that there are ways that we can appreciate Norman Lindsay's contribution to the art world and also acknowledge the fact that he was a terrible person.
Right. Yeah.
Yay.
Michael Jackson, great one. Woody Allen, if you're talking about movies, or
Woody Allen is a person, isn't he? Roman
Polanski. These are names that you all can do your own research and read on if you want. But yes, R. Kelly, another person. If we'll ever listen to Ignition again, who knows?
Listen, I will never forgive him for giving us the gift of Remix to Ignition and then doing what he did. How dare he?
Yeah, pretty terrible people. But no, that sounds really interesting. I'd love to read a book.
Yeah, I would too. Maybe someday I'll be able to afford a $30 book.
Well,
Today it's
we'll
not
see.
I have food to buy.
You have food to buy. That's correct. All right. Well, it's now time for the show. This is new to you, so you won't know what's going on when I do this. But it's time for the big question.
Answer the question.
Excuse me. I'd like to ask you a few questions.
Okay, but the big question on everybody's lips.
Yeah, they're chap lips.
They're chap lips, right?
Does that answer your question?
Good question, Aguado.
No, that's the most important question to which I hope to find an answer.
All right. Now it's time for the big question. Do you like that? That's nice. Would you want to know if your spouse slept with someone else, or would you just have the secret? Just keep the secret.
No, 100%. I want to know.
You want to know?
1,000%. And I want it to come from them.
Mm-hmm.
And because I don't know, I feel like if it came from them, I'd be more inclined to potentially be able to move past it.
Yeah.
Because then be able to discuss, like, okay, why? Why did you do that?
Yeah. So I've been thinking about this, and then the context of this movie, does Norman know, or not Norman? Does Anthony know what she's done, does she know that she had sex with that guy, or is he just assuming that she had sex with those women?
No, he does not know about Devlin. He
Yeah.
knows about the women. And honestly, I kind of wonder if he thinks in his mind, because like there are some people who erroneously, I would argue, say, oh, if it was with like as a woman, like if it was with another woman, then it's not cheating.
Yeah.
Like, no. Yes, it is.
Yeah.
It is. Yes, no, 100%. I would want to know.
Now, again, let me, you're firm. I feel you're very, very firm on this. Okay, let's say he has the idea, or your spouse has the idea of what you've done, but they also know situationally.
Okay.
If like we're in an exotic place, we're in the Garden of Eden, as this is kind of presented, Australia, we are influenced by, like he's even influenced by the Sirens. Like he probably feels like he himself has cheated for his thoughts of Giddy, because you know that he's seen a lot of naked women. He's flirted with Giddy a little bit. Like, I mean, would we be more forgiving in those situations, or would we, if we did find out, like,
kind of almost, because here's like, let me present you with an alternative.
Yeah.
If this is option A, and option B is, here's this person that I work with and I see them 5 days out of the week, and I spend 8 hours a day with them, and I work very closely with them. And that is the person that I have cheated on you physically, emotionally, what have you with. I would much rather we were on vacation and we spent 2 weeks with this person. I'd be like, okay, we'll never see that person again in our lives.
Right.
As opposed to the person who's like, oh, no, I know this person intimately. I know their flaws. They're not a fantasy. Because in my mind, like a lot of these people, especially the models in this situation, and Devlin too, I'd say, she doesn't know them intimately. They're a fantasy in a lot of ways to her. So to me, that's like, it's more forgivable. I'm not going to say that it is 100% forgivable, but it's more forgivable because loving a fantasy is very different from loving a reality.
Yeah. I think I agree with you. I think I would want to know, and I think I could explain it away with the context of, hey, this is vacation thing. Like, obviously not right by any means. But like, I imagine that if they were to discuss this, even if they don't discuss this, I feel like their marriage is stronger now, having
100%.
experienced this trip, than it was at the beginning.
Yes.
So.
And especially like, I also think that it's stronger now because it's like, they're not just, I really feel like at the beginning they were connected on purely an intellectual level, and now they're connected on intellectual, maybe emotional. It doesn't really explore the emotional level, but the physical level definitely now too. I have a follow-up question. I know you're laughing at chat because I am too. Cheating on vacation is dope. Lesbians are dope. Everything's dope. Follow-up question. If your spouse cheats on vacation, do you now have a hall pass to cheat on your next vacation?
I don't think so. Then it's like premeditated. Like, I don't know. It's like,
a good point.
We can think about this now. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think so.
Good point, and good answer as the best friend of your girlfriend.
That's right. Good answer. All right, and I got a follow-up question.
Yes.
Was he really blind?
Ooh, no, I don't think he was.
I don't think he was either.
That last scene, he like chucks that bottle at him, and he just
it's like a hammer.
Oh, it's a hammer?
It's a hammer. He's like, get back to work, and he's like, throws a hammer at him. Bam.
No, that man was faking it. But at this, so then at the same time, if he's not blind, I respect him even more, because if you notice during that scene where they're all bathing naked, his eyes are up.
The whole time.
His eyes are up at the sky. So he is not looking. I mean, at most it's peripheral. Like his eyes, it's all up here. So like I kind of have even more respect for him, where he's like making the choice to not objectify them.
Even if I give him the benefit of the doubt, he's probably blind like I am when I take my glasses off, which, I mean, you can't see a lot, but it's like scrambled porn at your grandpa's house whenever nobody's there. And this isn't something that's happened to me at all. Where you can make out the boob that's there. So,
can you see the nipple?
Yeah, like it's a scrambled nipple, but you know it's a nipple, and so you're into it.
That is why. Yeah, chat. That is specific. That sounds like a sexual awakening to me, actually. But fun fact: the nipple is dark and gets darker during pregnancy because newborns' eyes are not good, and they need to find a way to the nipple.
All right. We get art, we get art, we get history, and we get some anatomy, pregnancy knowledge, baby knowledge.
Everything's fine. We get a cat trying to get into my towels.
Yeah, so I don't really think he was blind at all.
No, I don't think so either. I completely agree. He could see, but that also then brings up the subsequent question. The whole like thing where he was with Estella and then she sends Giddy in looking like her.
Yeah.
He knew then, if he's not blind, he knew that was Giddy. And that just means that Devlin's a fucking whore.
Yeah.
Which again, we love.
And they said that even in the movie, they say that he's not fully blind, that it's like blurry. Mm-hmm. If he's still even able to see blur, he can tell the difference between blonde hair and brunette hair. So
true. Very true.
That dude's a dog. And that's why I wouldn't fuck him.
A hairy dog.
Exactly.
Dogs have better sex than virgins.
Oh, wow. Somebody in chat said Scrabble porn taught us patience. Scrambled porn taught us patience, definitely. Scrabble porn sounds like a very specific fetish, though, with the letters like sticking to your back.
Spelling out sex acts in Scrabble, that's all that is.
Ooh, yeah. I don't think I have the words for fellatio here.
Oh, damn, I don't have enough T's.
Oh my gosh. Okay. If you had to rate this on a rewatchability rating scale of 1 to 5, would you where would you put it?
Okay, so this is weirdly specific. I feel like I would only rewatch it because of our discussion here. I want to like go back and re-examine some of the details. But on a general rewatchability, I feel like it's at like, 1.5.
You're not going to watch this with a friend?
It feels more like an art piece than it does feel entertaining.
I agree.
Yeah, it's not very entertaining, to be totally honest. It is cerebral. It is intellectual. Yeah. So it's like, if I'm in that mood, sure, maybe. But generally, I rewatch because of entertainment value. I feel like I gleaned a lot of the things that I could glean from it. So I might rewatch it once, but it's not a standby, like, I'm going to rewatch this feel-good movie. Like, no.
Yeah. No. Yeah, I think I agree with you. I gave it a 2 as well. And I like what you said there about, like, this is an art piece and not, sometimes, like, when you go into, for me anyway, and you work at museums, but I don't often, go to art museums a lot. And so when I do, I try and take in that moment or take in what really affects me or whatever it is at that time. And then I probably won't go to that art museum for a while. But I have that feeling. I know. Like I can think of specific art exhibits where I was like, oh, yes, that was very important to me. And that really stuck out to me at that time.
Yeah. And it's like maybe 1 or 2 works you like take pictures of on your phone. But how often do you actually look back at those pictures? Yeah. So rewatchability is kind of low.
All right. Overall.
Overall, I put this pretty high. I put it at like a 4.
Okay, yeah, that's pretty much what I was surprised by how much
Yeah.
I really enjoyed this movie. I gave it 3.5. Nice little surprise movie for something that neither one of us knew. So
Yeah.
that's really good.
I do like that. It felt almost kind of like disguised, like especially since it came out in like early February. I
Mhm.
really feel like a lot of couples probably went to this as like a Valentine's Day situation, and I could see a lot of women going away feeling very enlightened, and a lot of men coming away being like, "What the fuck did I just watch?"
No, they were
Or
enlightened with
less
boobs.
enlightened and more fuck yeah tits like that
Yeah.
mentality.
I
I'm
have
sure some women also came around with the fuck yeah tits, and then their boyfriends were very disappointed when they broke up with them.
yeah.
It happens.
All right. So we both enjoyed this movie. Is there something about this movie that you could change or would change? Say something negative maybe about.
I would love to see an interpretation of this movie from a female perspective.
Okay. I appreciate that. I like that.
Yes. I do think that there were some shots where I was like, okay, this is a little gratuitous. This is a little, much. And there were times where I was definitely like, that is the male gaze. I was like, that is not reality. That is the male gaze. So I would love to see this not only from a female perspective, but from a lesbian female perspective. I'm like, let's get a lesbian in here to direct this because lesbians are dope. So yeah, I would really love to see like basically almost shot for shot the same movie, but from that perspective, I think would be really, really fascinating to see the differences.
Yeah, I love that. My only thing, even though yours is way better, is this looks like it was shot on a camcorder in the early 80s.
Good point.
I would love for this to be a little bit more higher quality.
Good point.
So.
I do think there were some really like beautiful shots. Like the one shot that really stands out to me as like a really beautiful shot is like the steam train coming through the canyon, and you just see the like steam rise up through the. I thought that was really beautiful.
Also very sexual. Anytime that a train goes into a canyon.
That's a good point. Very sexual.
Very sexual.
But really pretty.
But very pretty. Yeah, it can be very pretty. All right. Like a fine wine and dish, if you could pair this movie with another movie for a double feature, what would you choose?
I did not prepare for this question. And
That's okay.
No.
That's okay. That is okay. Are there any art movies that you've seen that stand out, or maybe sexual repression? Because I've got both.
I was gonna say the only art movie that immediately jumps to mind is actually one of my favorite movies. It's Midnight in Paris. It's an Owen Wilson film. You would not expect an Owen Wilson film to be very emotionally moving, but it is. And it represents one of my favorite historical fallacies, which is the Golden Age fallacy, which is the thought that like, oh, back during this time, it was the best that it could have ever been. And it just really shows like, no, everybody, like every time has had its problems.
Right.
And I feel like it's a very artistic film. Obviously, it's set in Paris. They go to a lot of art museums, things like that.
Norman Lindsay would have actually have been a contemporary of a lot of the characters in there. So Picasso and Hemingway and all those people.
And Dali. Yeah.
Dali. Yeah. Dali.
Dali. I'll paint you as an elephant. Sexual repression films. It's less of a film, actually. If I could pair it with a book, it would be The Awakening.
Okay.
Kate Chopin. It's extremely depressing.
Great. I love it.
I read it when I was in high school, and that just shows how my brain is wired. But The Awakening is about a wife in the late 1800s who realizes that she does not love her husband. She hates her kids. Ultimately, she ends up dying by suicide in the ocean. So a sad option to the positive option that is this sexual awakening. Whereas her sexual awakening was, I hate my life and I'm going to die. Estella's is, I hate my life, so I'm going to change it. And that's
Okay.
the option that we want everybody to take.
Yes, definitely that route, please.
What are your pairings?
So when I was thinking of like sexual repression, I thought of the movie Saved, which is an early 2000s movie, and it takes place in a Christian high school. It's a comedy, and one of the main character gets knocked up and has to deal with, people looking down on her and looking at her in a bad way. Mandy Moore is in it as
Oh,
like
wow.
the mean girl. Macaulay Culkin's in it in a wheelchair. It's an interesting movie. I really loved this movie when I was much younger. I haven't seen it in a while, but immediately thought of that. And then for my art choice, which I would recommend to anybody, especially this is like the art movie to me. It's called La Belle Noiseuse, or Noiseuse. I'm not very good with my French, so
How
but
is it spelled?
Noiseuse. 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 Noiseuse.
Suese?
Seuse.
Noiseuse?
Yeah, Noiseuse. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
La Belle Noiseuse. It is very much a movie. It is. Yes. What did you? The Beautiful Noise is.
Beautiful Noise, something like
I think
that.
that's what it's called. Yeah.
Okay.
Very much about a well-respected artist and his model, and it's like 3 hours of like pencil scratching. There's not a lot of dialogue, but again, it deals with like a nude model, and it's like 3.5 hours. But it's like not it's sexual, but not sexual in the way that you would think it's sexual, and it's just more about an artist and his muse. And I think it is a beautiful, beautiful movie. I love this movie. I think
Is
a
it
lot of things
in French?
It is in French.
Oh, okay.
I think a lot of people would get very, very bored with it.
That's
I don't know.
French movies in general.
Yeah, it is about 3 hours long. It may be longer, of just this man painting this woman, and like the different stages he goes through, from sketching to charcoal to paint to getting it all right. I love it. It's so good.
Fascinating.
Yeah,
I feel like I need to give that a try.
a couple people in the chat here. I also had written this. This was on my longer list, but Yes, God, Yes is another sexual repression movie. Again, surrounded by Christianity and church camp and all that stuff. It's on Netflix, I believe, and you can check that out. And
actually, that kind of makes me think of, and also I wanted to maybe amend one of my answers for sexual repression. If you want to go to more the comedy route, But I'm a Cheerleader.
Ooh, great movie. Great choice. I had
Natasha
actually
Lyonne realizing that she's a lesbian at a gay conversion camp. Very campy.
With RuPaul with a goatee.
With RuPaul trying to convince people that he's straight. It's so good.
I love his goatee.
Yes, I know.
And then we've got another one in chat saying that Poor Things, new movie with Emma Stone, actually makes a good pairing, but it's way wackier. So
Did you see that?
I haven't seen it yet. It's on my list. I will see it before
watched
March.
it with a bunch of my little cousins. I wouldn't recommend seeing it with your little cousins.
How little?
Oh, not that little. No. They're like in their 20s, but little to me.
Okay.
Because,
It's like, stop taking children to things.
I changed their diapers. So to me, I'm like, you're a child. And they're
That
like,
makes
no, I'm
sense.
24. And I'm like,
That makes a lot of sense.
I do agree with that, though. The Poor Things. And I do also kind of think in the same way, because I'm like, Poor Things, again, it's a movie of female sexual, maybe not awakening so much in Poor Things, but like liberation as seen through a male gaze.
Oh, yeah.
There are a lot of things. There was one particular shot that I remember from Poor Things, and that is like a 45-second shot of Emma Stone's feet. And I'm like, this is not necessary.
That's very Tarantino. He loves his feet.
Yes. I was just like, what's happening here?
Interesting. Definitely interesting. And that is from the director point of view. Although Emma Stone does have a writing credit in Poor Things. So
all right. I would love to have a very in-depth conversation actually with you about Poor Things once you go see it.
I will go see it and we'll talk.
It's an interesting movie.
Okay.
We'll use that word. We'll use that word. Interesting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Tori, this has been a lot of fun and it's been really awesome. I really appreciate you doing this with me and bringing your art perspective to this. We'll bring you on for another one that's not art related or a cartoon dinosaur movie.
Anytime that I can talk about historical sex workers, I'm here.
That's what I look for whenever I'm
sex
looking
in general, obviously.
We'll bring it. We'll do it. But thank you so much, Tori. Has there been anything else that you've watched recently or anything that you would like to? You've already recommended so many things, books and things that you've seen with children and all these things.
Okay, I would say Sir Garlot. Agree. Go see Poor Things, if only because it's wacky. It's weird. And I know that the director, I don't think it's even as weird as his like typical. It is a fever dream. The visuals are gorgeous. But it is weird.
Okay.
Say that with an H on purpose. Other than that, I think that's really like the thing that sticks out most to me.
Great. Okay. Yeah. Well, again, thank you so much. Next week, we're going to be doing this again. We're starting off our romance month in February. The next movie is It Could Happen to You, which is stars, I think, Nicolas Cage and Bridget Fonda. And it's about winning the lottery and having to share that and everything. It is currently streaming on Tubi for 2 more days. So if you do want to watch it for free, you can do so by watching it on Tubi. After that, I have no idea where it comes. You can always rent it and spend some freaking money. But we'll be doing that stream next Sunday at 5:00. In a couple days, we're actually doing another special episode. Anybody can join in for that one, where we're going to be talking about children's sports movies from 1994, including Mighty Ducks 2, Little Big League, Little Giants, Angels in the Outfield, and The Next Karate Kid. We'll be doing that Wednesday at 6 p.m. So join us there. I know. They're such good movies. I've been watching them all. They've been great. Just want to thank everybody for joining us. If you aren't currently following, please follow on Twitch. There are other links that you can get to from Twitch, including a Discord where we spend time talking about movies, and we'd love to grow that community some. So check those out. And if we don't see you in a couple days, we'll see you next Sunday here on 52/1994. Thanks, everybody. You have a good night.
Bye.
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 No? We're right in the middle of Charlotte's Web.
Sorry, baby. I tried the best I could. Honest.